Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Ably Pixels on Hardcore Strategy. In this episode, we will be tackling the first chapter of the third dream, which is quite a bit more difficult. And right here you can see your classic Howard Phillips Lovecraft quote there, and right away it tells you how to duck under these sort of tangible platforms. Basically, you're just going through a small corridor. You can choose to blow up those bomb imps or not, it doesn't matter. And right away, there's a little squiddy thing there to greet you. Down there, in that little pit, it's nothing but death. That's just where they hold squid. And this little tutorial here is also where it shows you how to do the slide run. That's basically the way you get underneath certain platforms. It's a little bit tricky. Now right here, basically, if you just want to get the points enough to get a checkpoint, all you gotta do is kill those enemies in the bomb imps, and then you'll get the points there. You do want to save here though, because once you fall off of those sliding platforms, you can land on these spikes right here. Now basically what I want to do is, what you want to do is that you want to stomp down on the sliding platform, so you slide very slowly. And another thing you need to learn is that when you kick an enemy, if they ever bounce back at you, they'll launch you backwards very quickly. And also if you do get hit, you want to make sure to keep your balance, because the sliding physics can get a little bit tricky sometimes when dealing with enemies. This next one up here is slightly more difficult because you can't really kill him without having him drop down below just because of the gap. But if you can, it'd be best. Now right here is another part coming up that I ended up dying on. As you can see there, I decided to kill that guy a different way. Here you can choose to go below the platforms to get those points. But for the most part, you just want to take the points that you have from killing whatever monsters were inside of that previous tower, and to kill all the squiddy things. Seriously, all the squiddy things have to die, otherwise they will follow you throughout the entire level, and it does get annoying. Okay, right here, real quick, is a point in which you can avoid this entire thing just by sliding off that far platform there, and basically it lets you skip most of that area because there aren't any spikes there, since that is where you're supposed to land anyway. Now right here you have to have a checkpoint because there's a good chance that you could end up dying between then while the saw blades are coming, as you don't have much of a chance there. Of course, you don't have to get a checkpoint here because even though it's a little more difficult, it's better safe than sorry. Now for right here, the trick is that the platform will not move when you're not on it, so sometimes you have to find the right way to duck them. Honestly, the best option I found was to just try to kill them first, and then go on the platform. But if you are quick enough with your jumps and wall clanging, you can actually clean on to those little walls on the side there, up in the overhang, and go up from there. You don't have to have the platform, but it does make it easier to get up ahead. And that little area over there to the left is just for a page, that's pretty much it. Now I do save here once I get up on the platform because the obstacle after this is pretty difficult. Mostly anything that has to do with saw blades will be very tricky to manage. Now down here, I accidentally did a save in this area, but you really want to do it there because sometimes when you go off of that little ledge, you might accidentally get into the spikes down below. But for right here, if you don't have any kills or enough blood points, you can't make a checkpoint, and you kind of do want to make one for right here, because it does get a little bit trickier up ahead, and you won't get much of a chance to do it. There's this little imp here, of course, but he doesn't really matter for that much. I will show, of course, what happens down here if you try to go. Basically, you will want to go as fast as you can forward, and try not to get hit by any enemies along the way, which is a little bit tricky sometimes. But, as you can see right here, I had to cut a little bit up because I did die a few times. Just trying to get up here. Basically, you want to kill enemies in whatever basic way you can, and for some reason, I miraculously did not take a death from that point. But the safest way to do it is to just collect as many of these blood pellets as you can along the way. But you also want to watch out for the patterns of the saw blades above as well as below, because sometimes if you get hit by the saw blades on a current level, they can bounce you below, and that can sort of juggle you around to a point where you just instantly die. So you can say I almost got hit again right there. So you always want to watch your jumping. Now, right here you can see you can actually get more points if you kill an imp while leaping into the air and stabbing them rather than doing an aerial or a ground destroy. But you notice I have like one blood bit away. I have to be very careful when going through here, otherwise these saw blades could hit me very easily, as I only have one hit. But you do want to get a checkpoint here. Now, for this part, again, you just want to go as forward as you can as fast as possible, and also try not to hit or get hit by the enemies along the way. You don't want to just stab the enemies to death. You want to kick them a lot too, because you can actually hurt them a lot that way. And if you're not careful, of course, you can dash right into the spikes to dash into their attacks, which is not something you want to do. You always want to make sure that you get these enemies killed or out of the way as quickly as possible by whatever means, just so you have enough time to get the lever on the way back. And of course, with the saw blades in place, you can actually place the checkpoint in there, just in case you accidentally, you know, screw yourself over. Now right here you can see I instantly aggro that squiddy thing. It's mostly because those things are a little bit more annoying and harder to manage. So I just want to get it done quickly. Now this right here is just an onslaught of different knife imps. They basically just sort of jump at you from the buildings, but if you want to, you can just sort of lead them off the cliff. This is one way to do it, of course, where you try to meticulously kill them one at a time, but it's usually a lot quicker to just try to dodge these guys. Now there are some pits you can sneak your way out of, but not without having a lot of tedious effort required to do it. Now, of course, you can see these knife imps will just follow you no matter what. That's normally how the AI goes for the most part, unless it's a sloth thing. Shambler, I mean. Now, this right here shows multiple ways you can go. You can go in the little area down below. It is a closed-off area with a pit, or you can go into that area that has the blood pellets. However, once you go down that shaft, you cannot get a checkpoint because the saw blade's placed right next to you there. So, normally, if you have taken any bit of damage, you want to stay right here, but I didn't take too much, and I figured I might as well, you know, get it. But it doesn't really work. And if you don't time it correctly, you can end up finding yourself dying before you can even get to the end. Basically, for this, you want to kill the enemies or launch them in the saw blades as quickly as possible beforehand. That way, you'll have enough time to stab through the door ahead. As you can see right there, I barely had enough time to get through. And again, right there, I want to make sure I can kill the squiddy things as quickly as possible. And from there on, you basically just want to build up points to get another checkpoint once you get to the end, because that will basically be your last checkpoint for the entire chapter, as the little level area after that is sort of like a gauntlet of attacks. And of course, you can show right there that if you dash into a squiddy thing while they're dashing, they pretty much cancel out and hurt you, since they only take one hit. Now this part right here is probably one of the hardest concepts of the entire game, where it basically has a sort of gauntlet time challenge, where you have to go through this single final round area as quickly as possible. And it's not just kill enemies and get through them, you also have to figure out a way to utilize them. Like, see right here, you have to stab that little bomber and kick him in, otherwise you won't actually be able to open up the doorway up ahead and continue on. Now right here, you have to be very careful, because this is where most people die, is there are knife imps that'll just jump down and attack you from wherever. And of course right here, you gotta kick that guy as well in order to open up that. Now right here, if you go too early and just wait, you will not actually make it up. You have to go as far and as high as you can. Like right here, you want to jump as far as you can and leap, and you'll just barely make it, but it'll be a lot easier than trying to go while it's moving, because that'll be difficult. Now right here, it's basically a little easier to follow the saw blades, because they're running a sort of angular diagonal pattern that you can follow, which is pretty easy. Now this part, it can surprise you, because those saw blades down there, they will follow you, and they will fly up a lot quicker than the other ones coming up at you from the other area down below. So you have to be a lot quicker. Of course, you don't have to worry too much, because they do stop eventually. Gotta give you a breather somewhere. And that's pretty much the end of the level. So yeah, this level in specific was much more difficult than the previous 4, but it will become a lot harder later on, especially when you get into the last end of the game. But for now, this is Brownie Mix from Hardcore Strategy, and I will see you all next time.